We're starting first here at 6 with this boy's act of bravery after surviving the unthinkable.
I saw my dad holding a shotgun and mom screaming at him.
You will see who is the mass murderer.
At his arraignment, Ferguson had nothing but disdain for the judge and the court.
When it comes to even the most heinous of crimes, including murder, often, once enough time has passed to reflect on what they've done, most people show at least some feelings of guilt or regret. In some cases, their feelings might be genuine. In other circumstances, they might be trying to win over a judge or jury. However, sometimes people are so cold-blooded, they show no emotion at all, or even gloat about their crimes. Let's take a look at 6 killers who showed absolutely no remorse in the courtroom. Ronnie O'Neal. It takes a special kind of evil to kill your girlfriend and your own daughter. But in 2018, that's exactly what Ronnie O'Neal did as he attacked the mother of his child, Kenyatta Barron, and their 9-year-old daughter with a hatchet. To make matters even more disturbing, their daughter suffered from cerebral palsy and was nonverbal. O'Neal also stabbed his 8-year-old son that night, but luckily, he survived. After this night of terror, O'Neal went on to set the family's Florida home on fire. While on trial for double homicide, attempted murder, and arson, Ronnie O'Neal fired 2 different public defenders and decided to represent himself in court, which went about as well as you would imagine.
Because he's playing a fraudulent damn recording of me.
Although O'Neal continued to proclaim his innocence in court, there was a mountain of evidence that said otherwise. Throughout the trial, O'Neal repeatedly mocked the victims' family members in the courtroom by smiling at them and making inappropriate comments. He even went so far as to say, "I'm not sorry for something I didn't do, and I'm not sorry for the things that I did do."
I am not sorry for something I didn't do, and I am not sorry for the things I did do.
Ultimately, Ronnie O'Neal was found guilty on all charges and sent to prison, where he'll serve 3 consecutive life sentences. Randal Moore. Judge Joel Novak stated that Randal Moore gave new meaning to the word evil.
You give a new meaning to the word evil. I've never, ever seen anybody like you.
But with good reason. In 2009, Moore kidnapped, raped, and murdered his estranged wife, Therese Ann Lynch, and then shot Des Moines police officer Todd Rowland, who arrived on the scene to help her. Moore attempted to justify his actions by stating that he did it because Lynch would not let him see his child after she filed a protective order against him for domestic abuse.
He made her lip bleed even more, and she's like, "Now I finally got the proof to go to the authorities and have my dad arrested for abusing me."
In court, Moore went on to tell his estranged wife's mother that her daughter hated her and that she's a loser.
Read the journal she wrote. She hated you.
Thank you, Judge.
She hated you.
Thank you.
You're a loser.
In a statement prior to sentencing, Moore stated, "I have not 1 ounce of remorse for Therese Ann's death.
I have not 1 ounce of remorse for Therese Ann's death.
I hope there's more cases just like this, where people don't want their spouses to see their kids. I hope it happens more and more." In 2010, Randal Moore was sentenced to 3 life sentences and an additional 25 years for shooting Officer Rowland. Keith Ferguson. In November of 2014, 2 months after his wife had filed for divorce, Keith Ferguson took it upon himself to break into their home in Orange Township, Michigan, where he then shot and killed his soon-to-be ex-wife, Tiffany Ferguson, and her father, James Weber. Ferguson then proceeded to take a random hostage, where he barricaded inside a house with explosives and called 911, threatening to shoot any responding officers. Finally, after a 7-hour standoff with police, Keith Ferguson was apprehended and the hostage was released, unharmed. In March of 2015, Ferguson pleaded guilty to first and second-degree murder, while the kidnapping and explosive charges were dropped as part of a plea deal. In response to the victim's friend during the trial, when she asked him how he could leave their children without a mother and grandfather, Ferguson showed no emotion and simply stated, "Just sentence, kill me, whatever."
just sent me and killed me, whatever.
Keith Ferguson was sentenced to life in prison without parole, which is the harshest sentence under Michigan law.
I'm Keith in prison for life without any chance for parole. Thank you.
Michael Swanson. In the summer of 2010, 17-year-old Michael Swanson traveled from his home state of Minnesota to a small town in Iowa, where he entered a gas station and shot the store clerk, Sheila Myers, in the face from point-blank range, killing her. After leaving with $31 and some cigarettes, he traveled 2 counties over, walked into another convenience store, and shot and killed another clerk, Vicki Bowman Hall. During Swanson's confession with investigators, he was asked how he felt about what he did, to which he casually responded, "I don't know. I feel like sometimes people just get shot." While on trial for the murder of Sheila Myers, he sat expressionless during an emotional court statement by the victim's daughter. And once the jury found him guilty of first-degree murder, he flipped off the TV cameras, donning a huge smile. Days later, he pleaded guilty to the second-degree murder of Vicki Bowman Hall.
We find the defendant guilty of murder in the first degree, signed foreperson.
Michael Swanson is currently serving a life sentence in prison without parole. Danta Wright. The senseless murder of 18-year-old Jordan Clee shook the city of Ann Arbor, Michigan in the fall of 2016. While 3 young men, Jermarius Ellison, Delrano Gracie, and 17-year-old Danta Wright were in the act of robbing Clee for his clothes and shoes, Wright deliberately shot Clee, killing him. While on trial in court, Ellison and Gracie each expressed regret and issued apologies for what they'd done. But not Danta Wright. He can be seen laughing and smiling, even while the Clee's cousins issued an emotional statement on behalf of the victim's mother, as she was too upset to speak. The judge had some harsh words for Danta Wright before sentencing him to 25 to 52 years in prison for second-degree murder.
But watching you sit there, smile, laugh, and shake your head like this was no big deal, I'm very tempted to just say, I'm not going to accept this sentence agreement. We'll go to trial, and if you're convicted of felony murder, you'll go to prison for the rest of your life. That means you'll die there.
Alan Miller Mccarty. When a child custody case resulted in a no-contact order due to domestic violence, Alan Miller Mccarty of Daytona Beach, Florida, didn't help his cause by the way he reacted to the ruling. After the custody case didn't go in his favor, Mccarty decided to try and take matters into his own hands. He made 4 separate phone calls to 911, where he made a series of death threats against Judge Stasia Warren, who was overseeing his custody case, including threatening to execute her outside of the courthouse.
Communications, Warhurst.
Yeah, I want to report a crime that's about to happen.
What do you mean a crime that's about to happen?
Yeah, there's about to be a crime that's going to happen if my kids don't come back to me, you stupid bitch. Because your stupid judges don't want to bring people to courtrooms. I got a gun pointed at your building.
Sir, what is going on?
Who the you calling sir, you stupid bitch? Where's your Judge Warren at? You gonna bring that bitch out in handcuffs and I'm gonna execute that son of a bitch right in the street. I'm letting you know I'm gonna shoot this bitch. You gonna give me my kids?
Where are you at, sir?
I just told you I'm outside of her building waiting for her to get there in the morning. I'm gonna pop a cap in that bitch. You stupid.
On the same 911 calls, he even decided it was a good idea to threaten the dispatchers as well. Although the judge was never physically harmed, McCarty's actions were enough to land him in court again on felony charges of corruption by threat against a public servant. This apparently wasn't enough to get McCarty's attention, as once he was on trial, he continued to berate and threaten the judge, jury, and anyone else in his line of sight.
You wanna take my kids from me and act like that? You and that bitch. You and the bitch that took my kids.
Holly, make sure you pick down last name. He was sworn in.
No, I was not sworn in.
Yes,
I've never been sworn in this court. Bring the camera back. He's making.
After screaming and yelling in the courtroom like an out-of-control toddler, McCarty eventually found himself watching the remainder of his trial from a small room behind one-way glass.
Count one, I'm gonna shoot.
Unsurprisingly, it only took the jury about 30 minutes to find Mccarty guilty of 2 counts of threats or extortion and 2 counts of corruption by threat against a public official.
Adjudicate him guilty, sentence him to 15 years in Florida State Prison. As to count 2, when adjudicate him guilty, sentence him to 5 years to run consecutive to count.
As a result, in 2018, Alan Miller Mccarty was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video and would like to see more content like this and want to support the channel, feel free to like this video and subscribe to the channel.